was casting the circle, clearing it of all maleficent forces, and preparing this forest clearing for the midnight ritual. Diana took her place in the circle, planting her feet in the good earth and raising her palms and face to Goddess Moon. Then, with a flash of light, the great Beltane fire was alight, and Lord Malebranche stood before her, magnificent in his horned nakedness. The members of the coven began chanting and drumming, and with a snap of his fingers, Lord Malebranche released the shoulder clasps of her ritual garment, and it fell to the ground around her ankles. He then took her hand and drew her toward the flickering fire in the center of the circle, her white body bathed in moonlight. When she arose, she would be Lady Diana, High Priestess of the Silver Coven. 1. Fire. The Ordains have spoken. When winter's icy grasp is broken, when the warming sun returns, let the Beltane fires burn. Chapter 1. She didn't believe in any of it. Not for a minute, thought Lucy Stone. She was a hard-headed reporter for the Penny Saver, the local weekly newspaper in Tinker's Cove, Maine, and being skeptical was part of her job. No wonder, then, that all this nonsense about second sight and spells and magical powers didn't impress her in the least. It was all fakery and trickery. You couldn't fool her. So when Pam Stillings announced she'd made an appointment for them all to have a psychic reading after their regular Thursday morning breakfast, she'd been less enthusiastic than the others, but didn't want to be left out either. But as far as she was concerned, the only reason she was going along with her friends on this late June morning to Solstice, the new shop in town, owned by Diana Ravenscroft, was to see if she could figure out how it was done. That was the only reason, period. She was happily married, had 4 well-adjusted children, and an adorable grandchild, and she wasn't at all interested in meeting a tall, dark stranger or going on a long trip. And so far, none of her dear departed relatives had tried to contact her, and that was the way she liked it. "I've been dying to come here ever since it opened," said Pam, as she slipped her aged Mustang into a parking spot in front of the little shop. "It's so cute." Pam was married to Lucy's boss, Ted, and still retained the enthusiasm she'd displayed as a high school cheerleader. The shop was cute, there was no denying that, thought Lucy, reaching for the car door handle. It was located in a quaint, antique building that used to be a shoe store, with a little studio apartment upstairs. It was a bit like a child's drawing, a cockeyed little square with a triangle perched on top. Even though it was at least a century old, maybe more, it had gone largely unnoticed, tucked behind an overgrown garden, until Diana moved in and painted it lavender with purple trim. The rampant vines and weeds had been tamed. Window boxes overflowing with petunias accented the mullioned display windows that were filled with crystal pendants that caught the light. An assortment of bath and body products were arranged in pyramids, and there was a smattering of books and handmade jewelry. A black cat was curled up on a thick green velvet cushion, asleep in a patch of sun. "This ought to be a hoot," said Sue Finch, flipping down the sun visor and checking her lipstick in the mirror before opening the door and gracefully exiting the car. Sue was the only woman in the little seaside town who consistently wore high heels, and she got her hair done in New York City when she visited her daughter, Sidra, who was an assistant producer for the Nora show. "I hear psychics are all the rage now. All the stars have their favorite fortune."